Good morning, everyone. Jane Monreal here with you at 9 o'clock on Thursday, making our way to the weekend. We're getting closer. A rinse and repeat minus the repeat, I think, right? With your weather, that is. As we are here on Live Impact News, again, weather alert is our top local headline in the Charlotte area. We had some severe storms last night. Meteorologist Chris Mulcahy joining us this morning. And so it was a 1-2 punch yesterday, Chris.
Yep.
Are we still dealing something similar, or we're going to just do the one punch?
I don't know. I think maybe it's like a 1-2 slap. It's not so you're the punch
way,
that Jane was talking about were it depends. Those professional slappers, if you ever seen the videos. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about hey, friendly. The reason why I'm saying this is I think that we do have a chance for severe storms. Pretty much any time that you're going to be this hot and humid, you're going to have that possibility. But I do not think it's going to be as bad because we're actually trending in a much better direction. And the biggest thing about today, it's not super hot. At this point yesterday, we were talking about the triple-digit heat indices on the way, and we actually hit a crazy level yesterday that it was actually some of the hottest that we've been since 2010, so the last 15 years. And what's really interesting is I'm your stat man. Check this out. You actually had the 8th highest peak of a heat index now in 2025. So this ranks all the years since 1941. We officially hit 109.6. So again, that's the highest that we've had since 2010, but then the 8th highest overall. So it's going to be tough to beat that because the real peaks are 111.5, 111.2. We were up there. So if you thought it was uncomfortably hot and it was like, oh, I haven't felt this hot in a while. Well, if you live here in Charlotte for a while, yeah, this is definitely some record heat that we had yesterday. So I just want everyone to know that, yeah, you actually led a wonder. Now, for our weather alerts, we do have a heat advisory, but it's not as widespread. Yesterday, everyone was pretty much under it, and you had a chance for a 105 to a 109 heat index. I think it's a little bit lower than this, but we're still can get up to about 106. That's why I'm going to temper my expectations to say it's so much better today.
Okay, there you go.
You're still you're still 96 with a 106 compared to 100 degrees feeling like 110. So it's still the moisture. It's still a muggy afternoon. This morning, though, I'm going to take a stop. Felt much better, right?
Yes.
And yeah, see, this is also sometimes weather is a social science because we're starting off at 80 degrees. It was the muggiest day of the year, and we returned it back to a level that used to be humid and uncomfortable, and we're like, oh, well, we just had that, so this isn't too bad. That's kind of the case and scenario that I think that we have for today. Our high temperatures still hot, the mid-90s. We should be in the upper 80s again still, but at least it's less well above average, and then soon it's a little bit closer to average. I want to talk about those peak heat indices. Here's one of my favorite models. Yes, I have tons of favorite models. We have 106 for a peak right around 4 o'clock. It looks like for the Charlotte area, urban heat effect definitely helps that out. Even though we're returning the lower 90s tomorrow, it still could feel up to 100 degrees. Now, that's the absolute peak. And even on Saturday, we have a high about 91. It's still super humid, so you could have a peak to 101. So this is just summer, y'all. Whenever it's super humid and we're even at or near our average, you will have a chance for it to feel up to 100 degrees. This is just a little bit more exceptional for the start. Our scattered thunderstorms are also a possibility. General rule of thumb, if you get into the hundreds for your heat index and you have nearby troughs and fronts and other stuff like that could drive it up, likely you're going to have storms or a scattered thunderstorm chance, and that's what we have over the next 3 days. But as of right now, it actually looks like Tuesday could be our best chance because a cold front rolls through. So picture a big spiky blue line, not literally, but that cold air driving all of that heat and humidity up. That usually leads to widespread storms, so something that we'll be watching. Okay, here's the near term. Okay. Yesterday, we kind of saw this pattern, but what's pretty cool is look really closely where each storm goes. So find where you live. You have storms starting to develop to the northwest, and then all of a sudden, they start to diverge down towards the south. I'm having a lot of fun with this. This is actually an outflow boundary explainer. So here you have area of storms. Here you have one storm as well. But if you roll it on, oh, now these moved a little bit down to the south. A lot of times what these storms do is they transfer energy. So once the downpour begins, cold air actually accelerates out and it kind of creates a mini front. And watch what will happen. Notice the storms to the west? Well, they actually start to congeal together. Now, watch these ones. Watch these storms to the south and these storms to the north. They actually start to head towards each other. One starts to suck the energy away, and they actually crisscross. So what's happening here is you have storms popping up in the heat and humidity, and essentially they're forming these different fronts that take over, and then that's why they kind of crisscross, almost like contrails in the sky. This is also proving why meteorology can be a nightmare trying to enforce your timing. Is my barbecue going to get rained out? Well, yesterday, for example, it didn't rain a drop in parts of Huntersville. But then, meanwhile, Rock Hill slammed. I'm not sure if you got rain at your house.
Sure did.
A ton of it, yeah. So these type of storms are maddening because those were severe thunderstorms, but then other people just saw it off into the distance. So same thing goes. You will have a chance for a few isolated severe thunderstorms. Some more hail is a possibility. I just don't think it's as boisterous as what we had yesterday. Boisterous, yeah, that was my word of the day calendar this morning. So the boisterous goes down, less buoyant overall, says the boy. And then and then as we work, now it's too much. It takes over. Like Kim and I realized we're starting to count things, even when it's just the two of us. It was like, oh, what have we done? But just letting you roll tape, you can see like pretty much happened through the weekend. Our precipitation chances are going to wind down after that, and then they start to spike back up along that front that I was talking about. All right, let's wrap it up with our 7-day forecast. This is the only red bar that I have going forward, and we added this one back just because we do have that heat advisory. But again, not everyone will be impacted. Just it'll be super hot and humid, so the usual. The lower 90s are nice to see, and then get out your pockets, get out your jackets. 89 degrees for a chilly Wednesday.
What? Chilly Wednesday?
89 degrees. I'm putting it in perspective.
Okay.
Chilly for summer. No, I'm just joking. That's where we should be. So normal for Wednesday. Just
I did. I was.
see.
I did this.
That's why I'm here for the shock and awe value. Always.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
Of course.
So today we're going to have a little bit of 50% chance, right?
Yeah, so 50-50, seeing that future cast. Stay weather
50-50.
alert, watch for storms.
We do it.
It's super hot, and then it's just hot.
We do, thanks to you.
Oh, thank you.
You excited about the new pick from last night for the Hornets?
I'm excited about both picks. Yeah. So, since they traded to get number 29.
Right.
So that the second pick that we had, like all names are escaping me. Liam. They're new.
Liam.
Give us credit.
We're going to get Liam.
Well, can we just go Liam? Let's just say Liam.
Just
a good name.
Yeah.
It is a good name.
Liam was initially supposed to be kind of a lottery pick and then had a bad shooting year. So I think they kind of got a value draft there, and I think that's why they traded for the McNeely. There we go.
Good pull.
What about you all? So I'm excited about both of them. I think both of them are kind of NBA ready now, and I think that's what the Hornets need.
Well, we felt like Khan was going to come
yeah.
to us, right? So that was sort of expected.
And it's Knipple, let's say his last name, right?
Yep, I've been corrected a couple of times.
Well, because I look at it, and then people are saying it, and I was like, I don't know. I've had no confidence until now.
Yeah.
Because I've been conning my way through, you know? That's the way to do it. Yeah.
Good.
I'm super excited about him. The reason why is if you remember, I think it was the end of the ACC tournament that we lost Cooper Flagg for Duke.
For an injury.
And then who took over? That man. So he shows that he can already control the game. The one caveat that I have been reading is the defense. Now, the best thing is offense is a lot harder to teach than defense. Defense is really kind of about knit and grit and kind of stamina. So I think it can be taught, but I'm really excited about it. I think the Hornets need kind of like young players that are going to play now. That I think they could have fun together, and that's step one.
All right. Well, there you go. Hot take.
I take my sports hat off, weather back on.
Boom.
Bye, y'all. Stay
Bye,
cool.
Chris.
One
Thank
more
you.
heat advisory.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right. Thanks, Chris Mulcahy in the Live Impact studio. Speaking of Con Knipple, they picked him. We saw it coming, and our Nick Carboni was here in this seat last night. Special coverage only on WCNC Plus, covering the draft moment by moment. Talking to our partners with Locked On. This is a conversation now from last night.
Yes,
Carlene
Campbell.
Okay.
Got to talk to Con right after.
Right
put the hat
after.
on and everything.
Fantastic. This is their interview from last night, the moment it was announced that he was going to be the number 4 draft coming to the Hornets. Con Knipple with Logan Campbell on WCNC Plus.
Con Knipple, and we're going to hear what they have to say.
So we're going to the same spot.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, you know, your life just got a little bit easier.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we are here with the newest Charlotte Hornet and the 4th overall pick in the NBA, Con Knipple. Con, has it hit you yet? You are staying in North Carolina and you're going to be in Charlotte.
I'm super excited. Love North Carolina this year, obviously. Had a lot of fun, and you know, I'll just be down the road.
Take us through that moment when you heard your name called. What were you feeling?
Just a lot of gratitude. You know, what an extreme blessing from God. You know, sharing it with your family is also just a really, really special feeling.
Yeah, why did you bring all of your brothers up on stage with you? What was the importance of that?
That's something ESPN wanted to do, but also I think it just showed what family means to me. And you know, it's always fun to go up there and do something fun with those guys.
Talk about family. Duke has a brotherhood. You had Cooper Flag go first. Kaman got taken 10th. To have 3 of you go in the top 10 in the NBA draft, how special is that?
Oh, it's so special. I mean, I think it's big time. It shows where Coach Shire's program's at. And, you know, hopefully, I know for a fact that the brotherhood will keep it going.
What was it about Charlotte during this draft process that you thought, okay, I could see myself playing there?
Yeah, I mean, having the interviews at the Combine and then in my visit there with the team, you know, getting to know Jeff Peterson and Coach Lee a little bit, it was really special. You know, they're really, really good people, and I felt that right away from that first interview at the Combine. And so I'm super glad they pulled the trigger, and I can't wait to be a Hornet.
It doesn't hurt that you're used to winning inside the Spectrum Center. What can Charlotte fans expect to see from you this season?
Yeah, well, they're going to see, I loved it in the draft. They showed me diving on the floor for my clip. So they'll see some more of that, and hopefully some threes going down.
All right, Con, congratulations. We look forward to watching you in Charlotte.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Great. From Logan Campbell with Con Knipple live from Brooklyn, New York. Con's going to make his way down to Charlotte and be introduced in South End on Friday afternoon.
And you can bet we will be there when Con Knipple makes an appearance as a Charlotte Hornet. All right, so with that coming up, let's just stay on this summer vibe, if you will, because for summer break, for many parents, it means worrying about the dreaded summer slide when kids lose some of that academic progress that they've made during the school year. So what if there are ways to keep your children learning and have fun at the same time? So joining us now, Stephanie and Nick Farmer, co-owners of Code Ninjas. This is Tiga K and Fort Mill locations, along with their daughter, Ariana. Good morning. Thanks for coming here. And you've experienced this program firsthand, Ariana. I'm going to start with the parents, Nick and Stephanie. What is summer slide? I alluded to losing that progress. And how significant is this a problem for families?
So it's pretty significant. Studies show that math and reading are the top ones that become a challenge. They can lose as much to half a grade point in just 6 weeks of summer. So it's really important to keep them engaged in that time.
Oh, wow. And so you guys have a program there in Tiga K in Fort Mill with Code Ninjas. Talk to us about what that involves, Nick.
So Code Ninjas is a child education center. They have over 400 locations across the world.
Wow.
And they're each owned by individuals. Each center has their own curriculum. Yes.
Yeah, it looks like a lab or a classroom. We're looking at some video here of one of the
Yes, it's-
lab sites, I guess?
Yes, we call it the dojo.
Okay. Oh, I like
And
that.
so the students, we call them ninjas, just to stay in the vibe. And it is, we offer STEM-focused curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
So as Nick was mentioning, every center is independently owned and operated, so that curriculum can change a little bit. But the core of it starts with teaching them to develop code and for things they like video games and things like that.
That looks pretty cool. Got the whole. I mean, Carlene here is a gamer,
I am.
so you
So
can
I like a big setup. I like monitors.
Yeah.
the headphones, everything.
Yeah.
Ariana, you went through the program, or you're going through the program. What do you think?
You went through the juniors program, right? What do you
Juniors,
know?
and so what was that like for you? Talk me through a typical day.
Talk about Scratch.
Sometimes in juniors, they will do a game called Scratch, where you can make games by putting blocks together.
Okay.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so block coding itself, though, is the best place to start learning development, even for adults, because it's teaching you critical thinking and how to assemble what you're trying to accomplish. So
Right.
block coding is the foundation where we start pretty much everybody.
That makes sense. I mean, so we've also mentioned that maybe critical thinking, problem solving, and those thinking skills are skills that they're learning, but it's sort of hidden or disguised as fun.
Even
Yes.
reading comprehension is baked into that because they have to look through the prompts and work together with their peers and think about how they're interpreting the prompts that they're given.
Wow. Ariana, what was your favorite part?
Lego.
Lego?
Lego robotics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
okay.
do robotics.
What do you do with the Lego robotics?
Make robots.
What can they do, though?
You can make robots that dance. You can make robots that can grab stuff. You can make some that can
Sort colors.
yeah.
Sort colors.
You can make some that will
SWAT.
yeah.
SWAT.
SWAT?
Move
Okay, I
things,
see
move
the
things.
hand, yes.
Launch, I think maybe is the word you were.
All right, so let's talk about who is this for, age range, and how what should parents look for when they look for this kind of activity or camp?
Yep. So we particularly start at age 5 and work up to age 14. I think when they don't have a strong reading base, we've created a curriculum that still works them through and things that are engaging. So from 5 to 7, sometimes that's a little bit harder to find. So if you're looking for programs for your kids, make sure that you're finding something that meets them where they are academically as well as interests. And then for the older range, I think is also hard to find. So we're trying to expand that scope for 12, 13, 14-year-olds because that's where you see those extracurriculars start to drop off. If you're not in sports, there's not really something for you.
Right.
So we're working on expanding that in things that are interesting like UX design and robotics and maybe things they can take into a career like some of the languages that are used in the workspace,
Yeah.
regenerative learning, AI, things like that.
And how do you keep the fun factor while keeping them motivated and wanting to learn? Is it just built in, the nature of the activities that they go through?
Yeah, it is built in, but we've also got, especially at our location, some really good teachers, or we call them senseis, and they do a great job with the kids.
Yeah.
They are really engaged. We've got a really good group, and it's hard because they're high school aged or just out of high school, so they, you get attached to these kids.
Yeah.
And then they graduate high school and they go off to college, but if you can have a good group of senseis that take care of the kids and are fun and engaged,
Right,
that
that's
makes
part
a
of it, though,
makes
isn't
a
it?
huge difference.
Finding
yeah.
a sensei, coach, teacher type.
Yep.
And they ensure that creativity is baked into every step. I think that's really the answer is we're teaching kids to literally make something, whether it's digital or physical, that they want to make. They get to choose what their final product is, and so it gives them a lot of empowerment.
So for the summer, how does that work? Is it a length of time for a program, or can you sign up 1 week at a time?
So the core program that every center offers is called Create or Create Juniors, and that is a monthly subscription, and it's evolving at the pace of the individual student, so it can go on forever. During the summer, there's summer camps, so every week is different. This week we have stop motion animation, Lego robotics, and Minecraft. Minecraft and Roblox are always top programs. And then throughout the year, there's homeschool programs, parents' night out, so kids get pizza, parents get to go on a date, and then we are expanding into a competitive Lego Robotics League. That's another thing that a lot of centers are looking into. I mentioned homeschool, and then we do day camps, like if school is out and you need a place to drop your kid off.
Oh, so you can do it just for the day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, especially when school is out, because we know they're working parents, and that your kids get to learn something, and you've got childcare, and you get to go to work.
How do you measure the learning progress? How do you measure outcomes?
We're talking about the belts.
Yeah, so you start the kids just like it's martial arts base, so to speak.
Oh, belts.
Okay,
Cool.
So you start as a white belt, and as you complete white belt, you become yellow, and then you just work your way up through the belts, and we all the way up to black belt, which we have.
And there's testing and game. We have like 6 black belts right now.
Yep.
Oh,
Every
nice.
round has like a testing module, and then they build a game based off of the prompts, and then the senseis judge them. So they are learning to take in feedback, not just like, oh yeah, this is good and move on. They have to take in feedback without getting upset, and like that's a big lesson.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how they work through it. And if they pass, the sensei passes in, they can move up to the next belt.
Do you see kids gaining confidence through programs like this?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
especially peer to peer. So being comfortable raising their hand for help, but also being comfortable helping their peer, and feeling like they really know they've accomplished something and that they know how to contribute.
And what's the biggest misconception then parents might have about coding for kids?
That it's going away.
That it's going away? Really? I think it's like
We hear that a lot.
a lot.
I mean, you've heard that, right, with the parents. They're like, well, AI is going to take over. And I think the important thing is AI is not, it's not foolproof. It's not going to take over. It is, if you don't learn how to use it, you will be behind. So it's another tool in the toolbox that we've got to teach kids and adults that are in the industry. But I mean, everything around us is a digital landscape, and so I think they feel like, oh, it's on the end of its life, and there's just so much more to learn, and it's constantly evolving.
Fantastic. Anything else that we should know about Code Ninjas or sort of this kind of camp for avoiding the summer slide?
No, I think it's just important to make sure you're letting your kids do something that's interesting, so they're getting off the couch and, coupling creativity with the basics and the foundational elements of learning. I think it's really important.
Ariana, were you nervous at all, or trying to start a camp like this, or you were nervous coming in here?
You've been teaching junior Lego robotics this week, haven't you?
Wow.
She likes to teach.
How old are you?
10.
10 and already a teacher. That is that peer-to-peer teaching, isn't it?
Yes.
Do you like the teaching, Ariana?
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say to someone who's just coming on for the first time? Any advice?
Don't be shy.
Yeah.
Take your own advice.
Don't be shy. All right, very good. Where can we go for more information?
Codeninjas.com, and you can put in your location and find your zip code and put in the location that's closest to you.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much. This is year-round as well.
Yes.
All right.
We're running stuff all the time.
All right, so summer slide or afternoon or just
Afternoon.
trying to continue the learning and the engagement and the fun. This is the now and the future.
Yep.
All right. Nick, Stephanie, and Ariana Fisher, thank you so much for joining us here in the Live Impact studio. I hope parents and families gained some good information, and it was so nice to meet you.
You too.
Very nice
Thank
to
you
meet
for
you.
having us.
Thanks
All
for
right.
having us. Yeah.
Absolutely. Pleasure. Here in the Live Impact studio, we're coming up on 9:23, so some more information for you and your families to take with you as we are approaching July 4th. So after July 4th, things are really going to ramp up for those dog days of summer and try to help you avoid that summer slide. Want to get you now to, it looks like Governor Josh Stein is signing some bills. He is very busy already in Raleigh. Let's go ahead and take a peek inside.
morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here. This morning, I'm honored to sign into law two pieces of legislation: House Bill 612, the Fostering Care in North Carolina Act, and House Bill 373, UNC tuition discount for certain students. First, House Bill 612. I'm pleased to be joined by Senator Batch, Representative Chester, Representative Alston, Lisa Cawley from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, and other legislators. Steve, good to see you. Thank you for all of your work in getting this legislation across the finish line. For Senator Batch, this has been years in the making, and I want to thank you for your leadership. Thank you, Morgan. On that, a bill of this magnitude doesn't just happen. It's a lot of people of good faith coming together, working hard to try to do something right for the children of North Carolina, and I'm incredibly grateful to all of you for what you have done. It protects the most vulnerable children and strengthens our child welfare system. The team behind this bill took a long time to look at some of the problems of our foster care system, and they came up with real solutions for how we can do better by our children. So I'm proud to sign this bill and grateful for the bipartisan leadership that got it across the finish line. Here are some of the ways that House Bill 612 will help our children. First, it will help us protect kids in the child welfare system from abuse and neglect. When counties need additional support for technical assistance, DHHS can play a stronger role and make sure that children across North Carolina are getting the attention and care that they desperately need. Next, it empowers a rapid response team from the Department of Health and Human Services, which will better support foster youth who are receiving emergency mental health treatment. And when it is an appropriate option, the bill will help more children stay with their families. Parent reunification, unfortunately, isn't always possible with every child, but the chance to live with relatives can help children maintain some form of stability in their lives. This bill will help relatives of those kids by offering financial support and Medicaid to those children. I'm grateful for the progress that this bill represents in protecting our children, and I share all of your commitment to building on this work and continuing to improve this system because our children deserve nothing less. Many people have worked so hard to get this law to where it is. I want to thank again Senator Batch for leading the efforts, Representative Alan Chesser for the bill's lead sponsor, Representative Alston, Loftus, and Bell, who co-sponsored and championed this bill in the House. Next, I want to thank our team at the Department of Health and Human Services and to all the stakeholders and advocates in this room for their tireless efforts to make North Carolina's child welfare system work well for children. The bill is coming in coordination with DHHS's launch of PathNC. PathNC is going to move our state's disjointed child welfare databases towards a unified real-time system that they can access so that it doesn't matter which county the child is in, the social worker will know what the child is best needs. Social workers will be able to use assessment tools, manage cases, and access data from all 100 counties. These tools are these are the tools that our frontline staff need to better protect children and to assist families. Finally, I want to recognize that this bill passed unanimously in both chambers. I want to thank the General Assembly for coming together on a bipartisan basis to do what is right by the children of North Carolina. I think that that is something that the people of North Carolina are thrilled to see in these divided times. It's now my pleasure to bring forward Senator Batch. Senator Batch.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Governor Stein, for having us in the People's House this morning and to sign two pieces of legislation that are so important to our state. I'd like to start by saying the last 20 years I've spent in the child welfare system, oftentimes helping one family at a time. And that's really important. I still do it today. But when I was elected in 2018, I decided that I needed to take the skills that I've learned and the lessons we've learned over the last 20 years and really put that to effort so that we could actually change hundreds of thousands of families instead of trying to save one family and one child every single day in a broken and fractured court system. And so this is a monumental bill, and I can't thank all of the individuals who have tirelessly worked on multiple versions of this bill. I think, Representative Chester, we were probably at 39 by the time we finally got this done. But what that means is that we actually care, right? You should bring the stakeholders in at first. You should talk to all of the individuals who are involved in the child welfare system, and they are the ones who actually get credit for this. We are literally vessels to go ahead and promote legislation, but all of the individuals in the room, which I don't have enough time to call you all out, you mean so much to the families in North Carolina, and you have changed the trajectory of their lives. And so I want to thank each and every one of you for that. I'd also like to thank Representative Chester. As Governor Stein said, we are in divided political times, but this is not a political issue. We came together. He was absolutely wonderful in championing this work throughout the House and working with all of our stakeholders to get this done. And so when you think that we can't come together, Democrats and Republicans alike, I want to remind you that this is an example of how important the work is, and you can put politics aside so that we can put families first. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much, Governor Stein, for having us. And I am so very, very humbled and honored to be a part of this. And we can just start working on the third version as soon as we're done.
Well, thank you guys. This has been a long time coming. Not to rain on WREL's parade, but it's been in the works for years. It predates my time in the General Assembly. Apparently, the missing ingredient was some dumb redneck from Nash County to finally get it over the hump. This is not a solo success, as everyone has said. This is a true team effort. I was happy to champion this through the House, to work with the stakeholders, to work with my colleagues in the House to get a bipartisan vote, a unanimous vote. Again, if you start naming people, you're going to leave people off, but where's Representative Alston? Right. Thank you so much for being willing to stand next to me on this issue and help me with your colleagues.
We're going to put a pin in that press conference from North Carolina Governor Josh Stein on several bills that he is signing today, because here at 9:32 on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, we do have a special guest for you this morning. The mountains of North Carolina about to come alive with the sounds of bagpipes, cheers of athletic competition, and the celebration of Scottish heritage. The Grandfather Mountain Highland Games returning to McRae Meadows next month. This is their 69th year, bringing what organizers call a wee bit of Scotland to the high country. So with us right now is Stephen Quillen, president of the Grandfather Mountain Highland Games. Stephen, welcome. Thank you for joining me this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So what does it mean to you personally that this historic event is being celebrated again?
Well, it's really especially heartwarming for me. My first time at the Grandfather Mountain Highland Games was 1968. I came with my parents. I was 15 years old. We came up. It was sort of a bucket list trip for my parents. And so they came and they'd done it and they never came back, but I never left. The next year I could drive, and so I've been every year since.
Fantastic, yeah.
That makes me, 56 years or something. And I always find something different each year. We are a very traditional Highland Games event. And so one of the secrets to our popularity is that we keep doing the same things over and over, but only the same things, sort of. You know, vendors change and our athletes age out and we get new ones and that sort of stuff. So there's always a fresh aspect to the games, and I enjoy that very much.
For viewers who are not familiar with the event there, paint a picture of what they're going to experience come July 10th.
Well, the Grandfather Mountain Highland Games is a very broad-based but wholly Scottish event. And so, as you said in your introduction, we have bagpipes and we have Highland athletics and we have Highland dancing and we have Celtic entertainment, all those sorts of things. We've got a big active children's program. We've got a very big heritage program that we call the Scottish Cultural Village, where we have very knowledgeable speakers speaking on topics that are associated with just purely Scotland. And so it's a very wide-ranging Scottish immersion when you attend the Grandfather Mountain Highland Games.
Imagine that the mountain will be full of visitors again. It's got to be so important now for the high country, especially now.
Yes, if we've ever had a really good festival, 2025 needs to be that year. Our economic impact on the high country area of North Carolina, not just Avery County where the games are held, but the adjacent counties, is estimated by the state of North Carolina to be something like $4.5 million. So it's a really big deal, especially this year. Our pre-sale ticket sales have gone well. We have set attendance records 6 of the past 7 festivals. I don't know that I could say that I expect a new attendance record for 2025, but I expect us to top out, in the top echelon of our previous attended events.
Yeah, that's great and encouraging news for the areas there in the high country. Talk to me about these clans, over 100 clans representing, 18 educational and cultural societies. And talk to us about the raising of the clan ceremony, what that means.
Okay, so we actually have 109 Scottish family societies on the field this year, and we call those clans. Some of them are lowland families, and they wouldn't have been clans like the Highland families, but we refer to all of them as clans. And so they will have individual booths and tents and ways to interface with the public who want to come learn about their family history and heritage and so forth. And we have 109 of those families. On Thursday night, as it gets dark, I will make a call to the clans to answer, and they will step up to the microphone and announce that their family is present on the field at Grandfather. That's a very emotional, moving ceremony, to tell you the truth. In 2020, when we couldn't have a games, E.J. Jones, who's our music director, and I put together a virtual calling of the clans, and we aired it on Facebook and YouTube simultaneously about the time it would have been going on. And so we had 26,000 live views across the country. And that just tells you, I think, how popular the opening ceremony is. And then the other 18 societies that you referred to, some of them are educational, some are benevolent, some are basic Scottish societies that are put together for a region, the Scottish Society of Wilmington, North Carolina, for example, the St. Andrews Society of North Carolina, the St. Andrews Society of Savannah, St. Andrews Society of McRae Meadow, and so forth. But we've got a really wide-ranging list of attendees for 2025. It's a new record for the number of clan and family societies. We had 108 last year, so we topped it this year.
That's great. So for folks planning to attend, they've got some logistics. What advice do you have for them for their first time experiencing the games?
Well, we have a very robust shuttle service that's run by 2 different companies. We have a shuttle lot at Sugar Mountain, and then we have shuttle lots in the Linville and Newland area. And so we also have sponsor parking, but those spots are long to go, sold out for this year. So my advice for people this year is come, get yourself a shuttle ticket, come up the mountain, and enjoy the day. Bring a folding chair, bring a cooler. There'll be food and drink, plenty of food and drink on the field. Lots of Scottish merchants and that sort of thing. So it's not all entertainment. There's also some great shopping, high quality woolen goods that are actually woven and manufactured in Scotland. And so it's just a just a really nice day out. The games continues after our Thursday night opening. We have all day events on Friday with a concert Friday night on the field, all day events on Saturday with a concert Saturday night, and then all day events on Sunday. We conclude about 4:30 on Sunday afternoon.
A lot of planning goes into this. As we wrap up here, Stephen, what are you most excited about?
I'm most excited about seeing all the people again. I mean, I've got lots of friendships and lots of family connections. My Clan McLaren, is having our annual general meeting there. And Florian McLaren of McLaren is coming over from Scotland. Florian will be the next chief of Clan McLaren, so we're thrilled to be able to welcome him. And for me, these are there's the family you're born with and the family you choose, and so this is a sort of a happy reunion of both those sides of us that are involved in this Scottish American world.
Yeah, well said. Sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. Where can people go for tickets and more information?
So our website is www.gmhg.org. Our phone number in the office in Linville is 828-733-1333. And they can call, or you can buy tickets, will be available at the gate. I get lots of questions. Do we sell out at the gate? No, we've never sold out. So come get on the shuttle bus, buy a ticket when you get up there, and come on in.
All right, starting July 10th through the 13th. I know you've got a lot to do between now and then, and we hope that this year's games are the best for you. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you again for having me.
You bet. All right, appreciate your time. Sounds like a great time, great tradition there up in the high country, and things that we can help our friends with, especially now that we're approaching almost a year since Helene hit. The Grandfather Mountain Highland Games returning once again this summer. This weekend is Boone Pride, again, also in Western North Carolina. So let's see what what you need to know for that, as we had our Nick Sturdivant talking to organizers yesterday about Boone Pride. And again, this weekend up in Boone. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC+.
I got a chance to read the press release. 2022 was the first year of the event. And it was funny. I read it and it said you guys were scrambling to get to get it done the first year. Describe the growth from year one to where we are now.
Well, so there had been kind of an informal community event organized by one of the faculty at App State in 2019, kind of the first like real March, Pride March and everything. And then the pandemic happened. And then I decided to run for town council. And one of my main issues was we were going to recognize Boone. We're going to recognize Pride in Boone, because people think Boone is like this really cool, hip, liberal, diverse place. But the town policies did not reflect that. So that was one of my focuses, was we're going to recognize Pride. We're going to fly the Pride flag over the town hall, and we're going to start having Boone Pride. And that first year, honestly, it was me. My parents had decided to move from Wash County to Wilmington. I was 2 weeks before like anything. People were like, are we going to do a Pride? Are we going to do Pride? And I'm like, oh my Lord. I literally had few people Venmo me money, and I bought stuff and pulled together like a little march down King Street and a rally at the Jones House with some other elected officials, and it was just really quick. But it was great. There were like 300 people that came. So now last year we had 1,200 at the first festival we ever had.
Yeah. Last year was the first like real festival then with like a stage and performers, music and we had vendors, and stuff as well. So it was very exciting to have this bigger event last year and really have so many people come out because we weren't sure. We were like, how's this going to go? We're at 300, but yeah, we had easily 12 to 1,500 people. Which was a big deal because we even got kind of late started on the planning last year a little bit, but yeah.
Is it overwhelming in a good way?
Very good way. So in 2022, 23, we had marched on the sidewalks, and then the police chief, Chief LeBeau, who's since retired, he said, "This is getting too big. We're going to need to close the street." But what's interesting about Boone is we don't own any of our main thoroughfares. They're all owned by the North Carolina Department of Transportation. So our main roads where everything happens is not owned by the town. So I had to write an ordinance and present it to town council. The council had to pass that ordinance, and then we had to attach that ordinance to a letter asking permission from the DOT to close King Street for a pride parade. So we have to do this every time for July 4th or Christmas. And I didn't know how it was going to go. So last year was the first year, and they said, sure. And so we did it. And this year we're taking a larger step. We're having motorized vehicles, some decorated floats, music. We're having grand marshals. We've appointed River Girl Fishing Company. I don't know if you're aware, but Kelly, McCoy, and Renato Dos Santos, they own River Girl Fishing Company in Todd. When the hurricane hit, they turned their entire compound, which was decimated and destroyed, into a hurricane relief center. So we're honoring that.
With that being said, for folks first time out there, what can they expect? I know you sort of you talked about it, but what more can they expect?
Yeah, so they can expect a lot of things. They can expect a bigger parade than last year that we're going to have, right? We're going to have some vehicles. We have the whole street closed off. There's going to be people in drag performing in the parade, like just kind of there. It's going to be a very joyful vibe, right? Because as my shirt says, queer joy is something that is very important all the time, but especially right now. And then at the festival, which will go from 1 to 6 after the parade, they can expect a variety of local drag performers. We really wanted to focus on featuring drag performers in the rural areas here. So we have them not only from Watauga County, but from Ashe County and Avery County as well. And that's really important to us that we're highlighting local, drag performers. We have local queer bands as well performing. There's going to be a variety of vendors, so queer makers who make a variety of things. There's going to be a whole kids corner with art expression spaces and free face painting and all of that as well. So they can expect, a very much celebratory vibe of the day and a lot of cool stuff to do.
And a really cool unicorn mascot.
Yes, we have our unicorn mascot.
I do got to ask, it's a two-part question. So a lot has happened since last year, right? Where you talk about Helene, a major impact, also a new administration as far as the federal government pushing back on DEI. To get to this point where we have this event, what has that been like? What are your feelings towards that? Have there been any challenges?
Well, I will say I was probably more nervous this year about sending the letter to DOT. I did not know how they were going to respond, even though the Council of Governments in our state is more supporting. I just didn't know. So, I literally was holding my breath, and I called Kirsten and said, "Oh my God, we got it. Okay, we're good. We're good." You always got to have a plan B. But this year's more important than ever that we do this, and we're prepared. But it's even more important than ever, particularly to raise up trans voices, which are being attacked and pummeled from every single entity, federal, state, local. It's more important than ever, and we want to highlight and showcase that.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with all that. I think what I would add, is that what I think all of us, because we had our first planning meeting right after the inauguration. And, we all kind of like a check. How are we all feeling? And it was determination. It was, we need this more now than ever. You may have heard this before, but we say pride saves lives, because it does. I know as a young queer kid, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and a lot of people think, oh, you were probably so welcome there. Bullied incessantly. I had friends who took their lives because of it. And going to my first Pride there was literally a lifesaver of like, oh, I'm not alone. And out here in rural areas, it is more important than ever. If even one person sees this, one kid especially, and goes, maybe it's going to be okay, and I'm going to stay today, that's worth it. So we were very determined to do this. I'm the one who posts stuff sometimes on like social media, like Facebook groups and stuff, because I don't mind dealing with some of the pushback we get. And I've had more people reach out to me asking, is this family friendly? Can we come as an ally? We want to support you. So I think there's a lot of support still around this for the most part. People do. And a lot of it is, I have a kid who's gay and I want to come and support them. And I've never done that before. And, because that is what happens, right? Most people know someone.
You are watching at 9:50 Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. We do have more information on Boone Pride on WCNC.com. That previously recorded interview with our Nick Sturdivant here from the Live Impact studio on WCNC Plus. We thank you for downloading the app to your Roku, Fire, and Apple TVs and spreading the word, because this information is as it comes to us here in the newsroom. It's nothing like it here in the Charlotte market. And we talk about all things that impact you, including the cost of energy, because as we head deeper into the summer months, North Carolina and really Carolina families definitely feeling the pinch at the meter. We're cranking up the air conditioner. They're working overtime. New research also suggesting that these prices are going to climb. So joining me this morning is Robbie Orvis. He is the Senior Director of Energy Policy Design at Energy Innovation. Robbie, thanks for joining us here this morning on Live Impact News.
Good morning. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, break down what this means for North Carolina families, this surge of the demand of power and our grid, and what it means for our state's energy future.
Absolutely. So as you've already pointed out, a lot of folks out there probably seeing that their energy bills have started to go up. And that's due to higher energy prices in part. We've seen the price of natural gas and the price of oil start to go up. But also there's a really large increase in demand for energy generally. We're seeing that energy demand in the U.S. is growing at its fastest rate in over 20 years. And as that's happening, we are struggling to build enough new supply to meet that demand. Now, the federal government has a lot of programs, tax credits, for example, that help build more new supply, things like solar and wind and storage that can supply more electricity as our demand grows. However, those tax credits are not guaranteed, and actually the current legislation that's being discussed in Congress, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, actually would contemplate repealing those tax credits, which of course would mean that many of those projects might not actually get built.
So we know energy bills here in North Carolina up about, 4.5%, right, nationally. And then in North Carolina, families spending just over $200 a month for electricity. How would proposed budget cuts to clean energy then affect what families can expect to pay?
Right. So North Carolina has actually been one of the brightest spots coming out of the original passage of these tax credits. For example, there's more than 100 projects that have been announced or on the books over the next decade, totaling more than $7 billion in investment. And again, a lot of those would be at risk if these tax credits are repealed, as is being discussed. Now, when that happens, a lot of the electricity supply that would be built doesn't get built because it's no longer economic to do so. And so that translates directly into higher energy bills. So we see in North Carolina by 2030, $290 per year in higher household energy spending, but that swells to $700 per year by 2035. So a big increase in annual household energy spending as a result of the repeal of tax credits as is currently being discussed.
Oh, wow. So the demand going up by 2030, which is Oh my goodness, just right around the corner. So since we see this trend nationally, although North Carolina, one of the better states, how does cutting clean energy investment make the supply and demand problem worse?
Right. So we have a lot of clean electricity that's slated to come on and planned to come on because these tax credits are helping to make those projects even more economic. But if you remove those tax credits, there are a lot of projects that won't pencil anymore. And so developers are likely to say, you know what? This doesn't make economic sense for me anymore. Or those projects may get built, but they may cost more, and those costs will be passed on to ratepayers. The other thing here is that for folks who haven't been following this, a lot of our electricity supply comes from natural gas, but a lot of the electric producers who produce natural gas turbines, they're actually saying they can't provide more of those turbines over the next 5 years than they've already agreed to do. And so there's a real crunch on supply. And that's why so many utility executives and market operators are on the record saying, we need more energy supply, and it's going to have to be wind, solar, and storage, because that's what we can build now, and that's what we can build over the next 5 years and can meet this growing demand. And that's why these tax credits are so important, because they make it more economic to build those resources. And as those resources are built, those tax credits are helping to keep electricity prices lower for folks around the country.
If the budget cuts don't happen and we continue to invest in clean energy, what's the best case scenario in the Carolinas then for energy costs and the job market as well? Because this industry does create and break jobs.
Yeah, so and that's a great point. And like I said, North Carolina has been, one of the bright spots in terms of taking advantage of these tax credits, and there's been so much investment already. So when those tax credits go away, again, all that expected investment, a lot of it disappears as well. So we see by 2030, the loss of these tax credits would cause 45,000 fewer jobs in North Carolina. And again, energy costs would be $700 per year higher by 2035. So a lot of clean electricity would get built in North Carolina. The tax credits would help make that cost effective and keep energy prices from rising too much. And then, of course, all those projects continuing to get built, that's a lot more jobs for folks in North Carolina to build those factories and to operate them. So, we have found that across a few different metrics we've been looking at, North Carolina is likely to be among the most severely impacted states from the repeal of these tax credits.
All right. Food for thought for sure as we look into the next 5 years towards 2030 and really right now. Robbie, where do people go for more information if they're interested in?
Yeah, all of our research is available online. You can find it at energyinnovation.org.
All right, fantastic. Robbie Orvis from Energy Innovation. Thank you for this great discussion we had here on Live Impact News and how the rising cost of energy bills affecting us now will move into the future for North Carolina. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me on today.
Fantastic. All right, we are coming up on 10 o'clock now on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We have had a busy morning with some great conversations. Coming up at 10:30, speaking of great conversations, after last night's NBA draft, we're going to talk to our Nick Carboni, who's had a long night covering that, and the only market again, the only station and platform where you saw the NBA draft coming in live.
Kind of unfolding.
Yeah,
right,
as it was happening right there here on WCNC
They
Plus.
worked really hard on it.
So
they've been working on weeks for that.
I mean,
So-
it takes planning, preparation.
It takes a village.
And it does take a village. So we got some great content for you there when it comes to the NBA draft and what that means for the Charlotte Hornets. Of course, we wanted to get the take of the Charlotte Hornets GM, Jeff Peterson. And we have this interview for you now. We're going to run in its entirety, just previously recorded, but here on WCNC Plus. Thanks for watching.
Yep, no, very excited. Just really, proud of our group, our scouting group, analytics, strategy, coaching department. Like everyone had, played a huge role into our process. And look, we got a couple guys that we feel really, really good about moving forward with. So exciting.
Jeff, what was it about Con that made you pick him for?
I think he just has a combination of, skill, IQ, versatility. He embodies just what we want to be about from a, Hornets DNA standpoint. He makes others better. He doesn't need the credit. He's happy for his teammates, so I could go on and on and on. Of course, the shooting. But yeah, we saw him early on in the process and really identified him and continue to follow him. So we're excited to have him as a Hornet.
How does he help your guard depth, do you think, overall?
Yeah, I think just again with the shooting, and he's more than just a shooter. He's a versatile player, but of course the shooting that helps. I think with spacing when you got LaMelo and Brandon out there, just the gravity that he'll provide on the floor. But again, he can handle it some. I think you saw that actually, when they played here in the ACC tournament when Cooper got hurt and he kind of had to shoulder the load at that position. So. Again, just his overall versatility is going to help us a ton.
You obviously made one deal tonight. Was there a chance to make another deal, meaning like obviously Ace Billy was there at 4. Was there a chance to kind of maybe get some assets to move back? What happened there at 4?
Yeah, we had some opportunities to move back. I certainly had some conversations, but again, we felt like it wasn't worth the cost, I would say, to move back to potentially miss out on Con. So.
Con told us that he had a dinner with you and Charles early in the draft process, and he said that he felt really good after that. What is that memory to you, and did you kind of walk away from that dinner with a similar feeling?
Yeah, it was a great dinner. We ate too much, but he, for me, I think you go the entire season of watching these guys play, and then you get to sit with them for hours and get to know their personality and truly figure out what makes them tick, what motivates them. So just getting more insight to his personality was great. I think he wasn't very excited about Charles and I. He was very excited though about Andy Dalton, who was in the restaurant with us. So Supperland. We went to Supperland. Yeah.
If the season started today, you might have a 6'9" center in Musa. How much of a priority right now, either be it the rest of this draft or going forward the rest of the summer, is to possibly find a solid 6'11" or 7-footer?
Yeah, I'd like to. I think we would like to continue to add some depth to the front court. Of course, we still have Nurkic on the roster as well, so who gives us size and just he's been in the league forever, so experienced. So with Nurkic and Musa, I feel good there. But again, I do think we would like to add some depth in that position.
Was getting back into the first round something that you were pretty predetermined to do today, or was it something that as the first round went on, you saw an opportunity later on in the evening?
Yeah, I'd say it happened a little bit earlier this morning. We started to get some calls about, things could move around a little bit. I can't get into all the details of the trade, of course, but it, again, we felt good about it. As I've always said, like, we're going to always be strategic and opportunistic. Anytime we could pick up 2 first-round picks, like, we're gonna take a hard look at that.
You mentioned that Continental ACC tourney run here in Charlotte. How much, because Cooper Flag goes down, he's pretty much the guy on offense for them. How much did that influence your decision to take him?
I wouldn't say it influenced it. It certainly helped. More than anything, I think it just kind of showed his versatility and his ability to rise to the occasion. Again, Cooper goes down, and defense, they're going to lock in on him and game plan for him. So, and he was able to handle the pressure. So it certainly helped. I don't think it wasn't the end all be all to the decision, but it was a valuable piece.
Talking about that meeting with them, there were some reports about you guys not meeting with some prospects, but I know you've kept them secret in the past with Tijon. Did you work out all the players that you wanted to, and how much do you prioritize a personal workout with the team when deciding to pull the trigger on the guy?
Personal workouts are important. With that said, I've been a part of plenty of draft processes where you don't get to work out a prospect that you want to, just because of the range that you're picking in. Inevitably the agents, they do their job of trying to protect their players from I'd say working out for teams that realistically they're not in their range. So, but again, that's why we go watch games throughout the season, and have Zoom interviews with these guys, whatever it may be, meet them in Chicago to get to know them more. So.
How do you feel about shooting with both prospects you added tonight? What does that say about the team from last year, what you guys are trying to revamp, and what it looks like going forward?
Yeah, I think, look, shooting's a premium in this league. So I think anytime, you can add shooting, you got to take a hard look at it. But again, I think that the thing about both of these guys, Con and Liam, they're more than just shooters. They both come from obviously incredible programs, coached very well, very tough. So again, we're excited about just their overall package, but of course the shooting is a bonus as well.
Going back to the guards, we haven't had a chance to ask you about Trey Mann, obviously, and just where is he right now with you guys, and do you want him to come back and be a part of this team?
Yeah, bringing Trey back is a priority for us. So I'm having conversations with Trey and his representation, and I think I don't see any reason why he's not back.
I know it's early, but I mean, as you start to shape next year's roster, after tonight and then going tomorrow, the free agency, do you anticipate a big change overall in the makeup of the team?
I don't think so. As we stand here right now, no. I mean, but again, I always got to be strategic and look at everything. So, if something comes my way, I got to take a look at it. But right now, I don't. I think right now we're just focused on the second round.
People are pointing out a lot of similarities between the two players you took tonight. What are the differences between Con and Liam?
Yeah, I think Con, I would say he's probably, again, he handled the ball a little bit more at Duke than Liam did at UConn. Liam can handle some, but I think, again, their overall size, Liam's a little bit taller. Con probably can guard down a little bit more. Liam can go up, so they have some differences for sure.
Looking at what you did tonight and the overall scope of the roster, what are some types of players you think you're going to target tomorrow in round two?
Look, we always want competitors. We do value positional size. We value shooting, IQ. Again, those are kind of the core tenets that we like to look for. Of course, relative to position. So, fortunately, we're at the top of the second round, which I like both of those picks a lot. I think we'll get a couple really good players. Hopefully, who's in front of us, Boston and Minnesota, don't take anyone from us, and we'll be able to get a couple more good players.
Both guys you added have played with some really spectacular players in high school, college, or both. How much does that bring value to their readiness to play in the NBA and maybe be complementary to LaMelo, Brandon, and the other guys?
Yeah, it's a good point. Liam obviously coming from Montverde, and then of course going to UConn, and then Con at Duke. Again, I just think those guys they're built for the moment. The pressure doesn't get to them. They've lived it. Again, they're coached really, really hard. They put the time in, they work. So I would say both. Of course, there's going to be somewhat of a learning curve when they get to this level, but again, I think both are ready to rise to the occasion.
Charles was very excited on the Zoom call with the draft party. What was his reaction, or what was his input on these two guys?
He was very excited in person. Again, throughout this is why Charles is great, because he likes to be a part of the process. He studies film on these guys. He of course, he came to the combine. He draft workouts. Even during the season, he'll ask me about different college prospects. So, very excited that that we were able to get Con and Liam.
Those two picks tomorrow.
Ace Bailey didn't work out with you guys, and would you have considered him had he worked out, or
Yeah, and we considered him even though he didn't work out. Again, I think at the end of the day, just we felt a bit more comfortable with Con. But yeah, that's again each agent and player, they have their own process that can't knock. So
it wasn't something that that's why you ruled him out, though.
No.
With the two picks tomorrow, that would be 4 total in this draft if you make them both. Do you think you're going to make them both, and do you think you have enough roster space to be able to bring in 4 players and stuff moving forward?
So we definitely have enough roster space. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. Some of it will depend on free agency. So the good thing is we have the optionality to make them both and keep them, or maybe move around a little bit.
One of the terms that has been used to describe Con's game is a connector, or the connectability. What do you see, or where do you see that in his game? And I guess best way to kind of describe that.
Yeah, I just think he's willing to do whatever it's pretty simple. Whatever he needs to do to help his team have the best possession on either end. So if that's, again, he can handle the ball, but if that means he needs to go set a screen for a teammate, he'll do that. And if he needs to roll, he'll do that. If he needs to pop, he'll do that. He can execute DHOs. He can, again, initiate the offense. And then defensively, he's going to communicate. I would say his ability to process things at a pretty quick speed helps him on that end, so he can help direct guys on that end as well. So those are all, I would say, traits to be able to connect.
You talked about not skipping steps in the offseason and just trying to build this thing up the way you want to have it sustain years upon years. How is this offseason, would you say, kind of stacking up in your vision to make this thing work the way you want to going forward?
I love where we are right now. Coming into this draft, it was like let's try to get a few good swings at it, to add some good young players that we can continue to grow and continue to be a part of our core moving forward. So obviously we'll see how free agency shakes out, but I think we're in a really good spot. Our financial flexibility is in a great space moving forward. We have a lot of picks still. So again, we acquired 2 more tonight, used 1, but I think we're in a really good space going forward.
And since we got you, where's Brandon Miller, and how healthy is he, and how close is he to being full go?
He looks very impressive right now. He's in the gym, he's working out, so it's been exciting. I'm just excited for him because it really, really hurt him to be out last season and not be out there with his teammates, his brothers. So I'm excited for him because he's put the work in to get to this point.
Obviously late, but have you heard from any of the players after you guys made the 2 picks that you did?
I have not, no.
Year 2 in Charlotte, how much did your draft process change from year 1 to this year after getting a full season in the job?
I'd say it changed from the standpoint of just, having a full year here with our scouts and our, the analytics group, medical performance, again, coaching staff. So, last year I got here in March, so it just happened fast. You're getting opinions from the scouts here, and I knew how we viewed players when I was back in Brooklyn, so you kind of just trying to gauge everything. But this year, I think, everyone's much more comfortable with their role and things like that. So.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate that.
Thank you, guys.
And that was last night's immediate press conference with the general manager, Jeff Peterson, from the Charlotte Hornets. We're going to just stay with the Charlotte Hornets block because everyone might be excited for not only the Hornets, but Duke and Con Knippel's family, as well as Liam McNeely. We'll get more as as our Nick Carboni is coming up at 10:30 to give us some insight from last night's NBA draft. But Con Knippel, again, the 4th pick for the draft last night, and he is joining the Charlotte Hornets. This is his speech from yesterday, right after, on the podium on WCNC+.
All right, questions for Con? Front row.
Hi, Con. By great alliteration, love the name. Now you're at Duke. You completed your first year there, and was it 1 year? You're a good student at Duke, so I'm just curious what you're studying at Duke and being in Charlotte. That's actually North Carolina, so is that going to make it easier to do correspondence classes or to be able to continue your education?
Yeah, we'll see. It's not something I was really thinking about. But
I'm sure your parents are, so
yeah.
It's for them.
Yeah, it wasn't something I was really thinking about, but obviously they're being close. That's opened up a realm of possibility for me.
Third row. Third row on the right.
Thank you. Con, you've had a short amount of time as a Hornet already. It's been talked about a lot about how you'd be able to fit with this young core they have there. In your short time being a Hornet, what have you thought about this roster and how you can fit and make an impact in Charlotte?
Yeah, I feel really confident about my ability to play with any group of guys on the floor and be an effective player. With talented guys like LaMelo, who has the ball in his hands a lot, and talented guys like Brandon Miller, being able to play off ball with them and be effective, especially as a movement shooter spacing the floor. I think that'll be a good fit.
Any other questions for Con? All right, thank you.
Sweet. Yeah, I was going to declare a major in history. Yeah, sweet. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Short and sweet comments from Con Knippel. Maybe he'll get his degree in history down the line and get one of those his honorable degrees. Okay, so moving on from Con Knippel, his teammate there in Duke, Cooper Flagg, of course, the expected #1 draft. He is going to Dallas. This is his comments from last night's draft immediately after.
All right, let's start in the middle, the second row.
Cooper, on behalf of all the internet conspiracy theorists who couldn't be here tonight, I have to ask, there are tons of rumors floating around that the NBA gave Dallas the pick to get you in exchange for Luka Doncic. Do you have any reaction to that?
No. I don't know what to say about that. I have no insider information, if that's what you're looking for, but I just feel blessed for the way it all worked out.
Front row on the right.
Congratulations. Has it started to sink in yet? I know the journey has been a long one, and it finally culminates tonight.
I don't think so. I don't think it's set in yet. It feels surreal. I'm just playing the moments back in my head, standing up, hearing my name, and it went so fast. Like it feels like a blur, but I just feel really blessed and honored just to be here.
Last row.
Hi, Thomas Orban from AFP. Could you see yourself becoming the second first pick to ever win a championship in his rookie season? Like, is that the goal, winning a championship?
Of course, yeah. I think my mindset has always been to be a winner. So I'm gonna try and win, as hard as I can anywhere I go. So yeah, I'm looking forward to being successful and winning a lot of games for sure.
Second row on the right.
Cooper, you have become the face of Maine to a lot of the people around the country and probably the world. What's that like, and is there any pressure that kind of comes with that?
It means a lot to me, to have the support of the whole state, and I know how many people showed up today and supported me at some of the draft parties back home. So, it feels amazing knowing I can inspire younger kids. I was in their shoes really not that long ago.
All right, we are sorting out the kung fu effect there with the lips.
Kind of like the unlip sync. We're not sure why the audio is like that.
All right, we'll fix that. In the meantime, back to Con Knippel, because he's the star now from Charlotte Hornets, and he is going to meet everyone later this week. Tomorrow or Saturday, I believe. And again, our Nick Carboni will be joining us here in a few minutes via Zoom. In the meantime, Con did talk to Charlotte media in a media press conference. This was via Zoom, and we recorded it as well. So let's get some more insight on his trip now to Charlotte. I know he's very excited.
Hey, Con, congratulations again, and welcome to Charlotte.
Thank you.
So, of course, we all heard about the Ball brothers over the years, but now we're learning about the Flying Knippels as well. You feel like y'all are going to be the next great kind of brothers of basketball to come through the NBA, and could Charlotte see any more Knippels coming through in the future?
We'll see. I think the boys got to keep working hard and loving the game and getting in the gym every day. I know they will, but that would be awesome if that happens. But the likelihood of that is not high, but I think they'll be great players in their own right.
Hunter, go ahead.
Con, welcome to Charlotte. The Hornets held their training camp in Durham last year on Duke's campus. Did you get to meet any of the guys then? What were those interactions like last season?
They tried to do a good job of keeping us out of the gym. I know one of the days they ran long, so a bunch of us players got to see NBA training camp in action, which was a really cool experience. I didn't get to talk to any of the guys really at the time, but I had some good interactions on my visit there.
Appreciate it.
Two more, Walker and then Mike.
Con, you had such a good two-man chemistry with Kaman Malawach at Duke. Now you have the chance to throw some lobs to Mark Williams around here. One, have you heard about Charlotte? What has Mark said about Charlotte, if you have had a chance to talk to him? And two, do you envision having similar chemistry with Mark once you get to the NBA?
Yeah, I haven't had really many conversations with him about Charlotte specifically. Just about playing in the NBA, playing after coming from Duke, what you need to prepare for. But yeah, that would be great to have a similar connection that way. Obviously, Mark's a really, really good player. And, hopefully we can develop a similar chemistry.
Mike, last question for Con.
Hey, Con. I know that the emotion of being drafted and all those things, the realization of a dream has kind of been the overwhelming thought for you, but have you had a moment to kind of figure out how you factor into this lineup and the guys that you'll be playing alongside, or is that still down the road for you in terms of your thought processes?
I haven't thought about it too much yet. I definitely feel confident in my ability to be able to affect winning with any group of guys out there. And I have good confidence in my ability to find a way to be an effective player out there.
Thanks. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right.
And that was Con Knipple talking to local media here in the Charlotte area, previously recorded, now replaying for you here on WCNC Plus. If you missed anything last night from the NBA draft special from our Nick Carboni and Danielle Stein, you missed a lot because they were following the NBA draft in the moment. A lot of fan reaction as well on WCNC Charlotte. Going to play some of the excitement from last night here on WCNC Plus now.
I like it. I know he's a great shooter. I watched him a little bit at Duke. I think it's going to be a great addition to the team, and I'm really excited about it. I think it's nice to have a hometown kid, so I think it's a great pick. Duke's got 2 picks that just went out. What do you think about that? I mean, I think it's pretty typical. Duke's a great program. They always have great players coming out of there, so it's nothing new. I can't say I'm surprised. The pick tonight, how do you think he's going to add to the team? I think just the shooting. It's simple as that. Also just the hustle. I mean, they talked about it. He's diving to the ground, getting after it. So hustle, shooting. I think that's 2 great things to bring to the team, and it's going to be a great improvement. What are you hoping that I think just build around the intensity that he brings, the effort. I think that's what they need. They need to, be a gritty team and get after it. Have that chip on their shoulder. They got that, reverse that losing mentality to a winning mentality. So I think that'll help.
Oh man, listen, it was something that the Hornets needed. I'm excited they got that pick. I can't wait to see what these guys are going to do in the future. I'm telling you, it's going to be a new season. I'm looking forward to these Hornets really doing their thing. What do you think he's going to bring to the team? Man, like they said, they were looking for somebody who was a scorer. They're looking for an athlete. I think LaMelo Ball is going to have a good time grooming this young man to be the best he can be. So, Hornets, Charlotte, we're ready for it.
Oh, yeah, we are so ready for it. Again, if you miss Con Knipple talking to us immediately after, well, he talked to Logan Campbell one-on-one. This is from last night's NBA special here on WCNC Plus.
Con Knipple, and we're going to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, so we're going to the same spot.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, your life just got a little bit easier.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we are here with the newest Charlotte Hornet and the 4th overall pick in the NBA, Con Knipple. Con, has it hit you yet? You are staying in North Carolina and you're going to be in Charlotte.
I'm super excited. Love North Carolina this year, obviously. Had a lot of fun, and I'll just be down the road.
Take us through that moment when you heard your name called. What were you feeling?
Just a lot of gratitude. What an extreme blessing from God. Sharing it with your family is also just a really, really special feeling.
Yeah, why did you bring all of your brothers up on stage with you? What was the importance of that?
That's something ESPN wanted to do, but also I think it just showed what family means to me. And No, it's always fun to go up there and do something fun with those guys.
Talk about family. Duke has a brotherhood. You had Cooper Flag go first. Kaman got taken 10th. To have 3 of you go in the top 10 of the NBA draft, how special is that?
Oh, it's so special. I mean, I think it's big time. It shows where Coach Shire's program's at. And, hopefully, I know for a fact that the brotherhood will keep it going.
What was it about Charlotte during this draft process that you thought, okay, I could see myself playing there?
Yeah, I mean, having the interviews at the Combine and then in my visit there with the team, getting to know Jeff Peterson and Coach Lee a little bit, it was really special. They're really, really good people, and I felt that right away from that first interview at the Combine. And so I'm super glad they pulled the trigger, and I can't wait to be a Hornet.
It doesn't hurt that you're used to winning inside the Spectrum Center. What can Charlotte fans expect to see from you this season?
Yeah, well, they're going to see, I loved it in the draft. They showed me diving on the floor for my clip. So they'll see some more of that, and hopefully some threes going down.
All right, Con, congratulations. We look forward to watching you in Charlotte.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Our Logan Campbell talking to Con right after he was picked as the 4th overall pick and coming to the Charlotte Hornets. Of course, last night's NBA draft brought some exciting news for the Charlotte area. Basketball fans all together making 2 really significant moves. The team selecting Duke guard Con Knippel in the 4th overall pick, later acquiring the draft rights for Liam McNeely from the Phoenix Suns, that in a trade. Here to break it down after a long night, our sports director, Nick Carboni, joining us from home. Hey, Nick, how's it going?
They split the NBA draft into 2 nights last year, which I thought would make night 1 shorter, but ultimately it did not.
Oh, gosh, of course not. How would you characterize last night's approach from the Charlotte Hornets to the draft?
Well, President of Basketball Operations, Jeff Peterson, Fifth Third Bank right next to Capitol Grill because Spectrum Center is under renovation. So at a table at Capitol Grill, he told the media, shooting in the NBA is a premium. So the Hornets last night went out and got 2 of the best shooters in the NBA draft, with Knippel at 4, and again, as you said, trading for the rights to draft Liam McNeely at 29. Now, Con Knippel was widely regarded as the best shooter of the basketball in the draft, and he can do a lot of other things. Here in Charlotte, we saw Con really take that Duke team on his shoulders when Cooper Flag, of course, the star of the draft last night, went down with that ankle injury at Spectrum Center. He can pass. He could become an elite passer in the NBA. He plays good defense. He might get picked on a little bit early on in his career, but he has a high IQ on defense as well. So when I really look at the 2 guys they picked beyond the shooting, Jane, they pick guys that come from winning programs that do not like to lose. And the Hornets have been losing a lot lately, as we know, just won 19 games last year. So I think the hope is not only can these guys bring outside shooting to the team immediately, but also add to and bring a mentality of wanting to win. We actually heard from Hornets small forward Brandon Miller on our live stream right before the draft started. And when somebody asked him, what did he want in the pick? He said a winner. And so the Hornets hope that they got 2 winning players in this draft.
Yeah, our Chris Mulcahy earlier this morning said, as everybody's sort of Monday morning quarterbacking here, but saying that defense can be taught. But yeah, I think everyone's just sort of agrees that we need some real offense, some real shooters, and Con definitely fits that role.
Yeah, and head coach Charles Lee, I mean, he didn't stray from it last year in his first season, even when the shooting numbers were absolutely horrible in some of these games. I'm talking, 6 for 35 from 3, things like that. I mean, box scores you would have never seen 15 years ago, but it's a different game now, and Charles Lee wants to coach that way. And now he's got, at least 1 in Con and hopefully 2 in McNeely, players that can fill the bucket. And that only helps everybody else offensively by spacing the floor.
All right, so what can you expect then from Con in his rookie year here?
I think he'll compete for a starting job right away at shooting guard. I don't think he's coming off I think if all goes well in the preseason, he will start instead of come off the bench. And what everybody tells us is that because it's a different game, obviously, college to pro, different, in a lot of ways. But the speed of the defense is tougher. But what everybody tells you is that the shooting will translate right away. And he shot 40% from three last year for Duke. So if they can get anywhere close to that from him, that's going to be a massive improvement. Like I said, he does a lot of other things well. He's an adept passer. He can connect the offense. Defensively, he may get beat off the dribble by a lot of guys in the NBA, but he is going to, I think one thing they know about him is he's going to try and turn himself into at least an average defender for this team. Now, there were players in the draft, the pick before VJ Edgecombe to Philadelphia, that's absolutely who Charlotte would have taken if he was still available. He could have come in and been the best defender on the Hornets at some point in the first couple of years in the NBA. Con Knippel isn't going to be relied upon to, guard the other team's best player, but he will be relied upon to connect the team both offensively and defensively throughout his career here.
Yeah, with only 19 games last year in the win column. I mean, and we could use everything, right? But he comes from a basketball pedigree, a basketball family, and but he's young, right? So how will those two benefit the Hornets this season?
Yeah, I mean, that the basketball family for the Knippels is incredible. I mean, he's got a handful of brothers. They all play. His mother and father were highly successful college players in Wisconsin. I believe his uncle spent at least a little bit of time with the Milwaukee Bucks. This is a born-to-be basketball player, and now he is a top 5 pick in the NBA. And what that screams to me is just like, he's gonna want to win. He eats, sleeps, breathes, and does everything basketball. And that's certainly what the Hornets need right now. They have a few of those guys, I think. Brandon Miller is a guy like that. But they needed another one in this draft. If you look at last year's draft also, Jane, it was full of unknown commodities. And the Hornets probably took the most unknown of those commodities with their 6th pick in Tidjane Salaün, an 18-year-old kid from France who's going to take a while to develop. This is a different draft where you could get somebody that impacts you right away. And it also tells me the Hornets, they want to make the playoffs now. They want to get this group to the playoffs so they can truly see if this is the future.
Yeah, people are totally psyched, obviously, as we saw some of the fan reaction. The Hornets acquiring Liam McNeely, the 29th pick from Phoenix Suns. And so what can you say about this move?
Yeah, so let's talk about the move first. I mean, there wasn't, on the draft stream, my co-host Jeremy Grandison and I were like, when's the big move coming? Not even by the Hornets. Somebody's going to make a move to shake things up. And it turned out, at least at first, to really be the Charlotte Hornets. They traded Williams already in the last 6 months to the LA Lakers for a nice haul and a player that is kind of comparable to Con Knippel, but Knippel is a better player. But that trade was ultimately basically waved off by the NBA because the Lakers said Williams failed his physical. A lot of layers to that, a lot of questions about that still. But I think the relationship at that point between Williams and the Hornets, I don't think it was ever, toxic, but I just don't think it was going to work out long term. So they got the 29th pick last night for Mark Williams plus a 2029 first round pick. And president of basketball ops, Jeff Peterson, has been steadily building a cachet of first round picks over the next 5 or 6 years, including all the way through 2029 now. And people say, well, that's a long ways away. Well, you can keep cashing in those picks for other assets closer than that date. So Mark Williams is gone. That does leave a bit of a void at center. But talking about the player they got, Liam McNeely, I'm a UConn fan, so I have to say that in full disclosure. So I watch a lot of Huskies basketball. Liam McNeely probably would have been a higher pick if it hadn't been for a few things at UConn in his one season. He's another young guy. He probably didn't shoot up to his full potential shooting percentage-wise. He had a nasty ankle injury that knocked him out for a while, and I think it took him a while to kind of get back in rhythm after that. And at UConn, he was asked to do a lot of things. He was playing a lot of point guard and handling. Like, he's not going to do any of that here. It's going to be get out there off the bench, get open, shoot the three. So he's got that to focus on, and I think that'll help him. He's not as good of a shooter as Con, but I think he's a little bit better of one that he was able to show in college. And a lot of experts had him, were surprised that he was still available at 29. And I think Hornets fans, and myself included, were surprised the Hornets did not take a center. They had just traded Mark Williams. There were centers available. They did not take one, but they have 2 early second-round picks tonight, and one of those guys should still be available. I would have to think they go center tonight. They have Yusuf Nurkic still on the roster, who came in when they traded Mark Williams, and all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute, now we're both here. So now Nurkic stays. Moussa Diabate earned a contract last year, but I think they add another one tonight.
All right. It's exciting again. Looks like we're going to round out this roster, hopefully. What are you going to be watching for approaching camp time with these rookies?
Yeah, I mean, just to see how they're acclimating, how they're shooting, especially when they get into the preseason or first early taste of what they're looking like, and how maybe their mentality coming from winning programs starts to hopefully rub off on this Hornets team who, listen, I mean, they get criticized a lot for not being winning players, LaMelo included, which I always argue, well, he's making winning plays all the time when he's healthy. Sometimes he has not gotten the help. Now he's hopefully getting the help, somebody to pass the ball to and hit threes at a consistent rate. So I'll be very interested to see how and when these 2 19-year-olds are able to start to help that culture in Charlotte.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. And I think you said it. Healthy is a key word.
Stay healthy. 6 games together for that starting lineup last year. They need to see more than that before they really make big roster decisions next year.
Absolutely. Our sports director, Nick Carboni, joining us here this morning on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, weighing in the morning after the NBA draft from last night. It seems like excitement is in the air when it comes to the upcoming season for the Charlotte Hornets. See you a little bit later.
Thanks, Jane.
All right, back here in the Live Impact studio at 10:35. Earlier this morning at the Pentagon, we did have Security Secretary Pete Hegseth, as well as General Dan Kane, Chief of the Joint Military Chiefs, talk and hold a press conference. So we're going to play this for you right now. First time playing it for you here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Well, good morning, everybody. Just arrived last night back from NATO, 2 days apart from my battle buddy, so it's good to see him this morning. Good to see you, Mr. Chairman.
You too, sir.
Where there was a historic outcome. I want to start with that real quick. I think there's so much news, so many things happening that oftentimes big, momentous moments get missed. What President Trump accomplished in NATO yesterday was game-changing and historic. A shift in burden sharing to European responsibility in NATO that most would have said was impossible at the beginning of his term. But he said NATO needs to pay up. They started in the first term, and here in his second term, we've accelerated that. 32 NATO countries committed to spending 5% of their GDP on defense, on actually investing in the NATO alliance. So I hope with all the ink spilled, all of your outlets find the time to properly recognize this historic change in continental security that other presidents tried to do, other presidents talked about. President Trump accomplished it. It's a huge deal. You see, we're here this morning because in hunting for scandals all the time, in trying to find wedges and spin stories, this press corps and the press corps miss historic moments. You miss historic moments like 5% at NATO, which when you hear, I was in the closed door briefing, I wish there could have been cameras in there. When you heard the prime ministers and presidents of other countries, to a man and to a woman, looking at President Trump and saying, this never could have happened, never would have happened. It seemed impossible 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 8 years ago. But here we are because of your leadership. If you ask them the question, I bet they'd say the same thing. But searching for scandals, you miss historic moments, like recruiting at the Pentagon. Historic levels in the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. Yeah, maybe there'll be a little mention here or there, but because it was under President Trump's leadership, because Americans are responding to him as commander-in-chief, the press corps doesn't want to write about it. Or bring us to the topic of the moment, the highly successful strikes in Iran. Let me read the bottom line here. President Trump directed the most complex and secretive military operation in history. And it was a resounding success, resulting in a ceasefire agreement and the end of the 12-day war. There's been a lot of discussion about what happened and what didn't happen. Step back for a second. Because of decisive military action, President Trump created the conditions to end the war, decimating, choose your word, obliterating, destroying Iran's nuclear capabilities. I want to read some of the assessments that have been provided, because whether it's fake news, CNN, MSNBC, or the New York Times, there's been fawning coverage of a preliminary assessment. I've had a chance to read it. Every outlet has breathlessly reported on a preliminary assessment from DIA. I'm looking at it right now. Again, it was preliminary, a day and a half after the actual strike, when it admits itself in writing that it requires weeks to accumulate the necessary data to make such an assessment. It's preliminary. It points out that it's not been coordinated with the intelligence community at all. There's low confidence in this particular report. It says in the report there are gaps in the information. It says in the report multiple linchpin assumptions are what this assessment, a linchpin assumption, you know what that is? That means your entire premise is predicated on a linchpin. If you're wrong, everything else is wrong. And yet, and still, this report acknowledges it's likely severe damage. Again, this is preliminary, but leaked because someone had an agenda to try to muddy the waters and make it look like this historic strike wasn't successful. I'm going to get to the chairman in a moment because he's going to lay out the particulars for you based on his professional military experience. But here's what other folks are saying. The DIA that put that report out says this is a preliminary low-confidence report and will continue to be refined as additional intelligence becomes available. How about the Israeli Atomic Energy Commission? The devastating U.S. strikes on Fordow destroyed the site's critical infrastructure and rendered the enrichment facility inoperable. Have any of these quotes made their way into the New York Times or the Washington Post? MSNBC? CNN? Any of these quotes? How about this one? This is a new one from the UN, the United Nations. No friend of the United States, or certainly Israel often. Here's the head of the UN Atomic Energy Agency this morning, Rafael Grossi. U.S. and Israeli strikes caused enormous damage to Iran's nuclear sites. Don't take my word for it. How about the IDF's chief of staff? I can say here that the assessment is that we significantly damaged the nuclear program, setting it back by years. I repeat, years. The Iranian foreign minister, the spokesman, our nuclear installations have been badly damaged, that's for sure. I'm sure that's an understatement. John Radcliffe, the director of the CIA, putting out a statement just last night. CIA can confirm that a body of credible intelligence indicates Iran's nuclear program has been severely damaged by recent targeted strikes. This includes new intelligence from a historically reliable, very different than preliminary assessment with low confidence. He's saying historically reliable and accurate source and method that several key Iranian nuclear facilities were destroyed and would have to be rebuilt over the course of years. CIA continues to collect additional reliably sourced information to keep appropriate decision makers fully informed. How about DNI Tulsi Gabbard yesterday? She writes, and I quote, "New intelligence confirms what POTUS has stated numerous times. Iran's nuclear facilities have been destroyed." Institute for Science and International Security President David Albright, overall, Israel and U.S. attacks have effectively destroyed Iran's centrifuge enrichment program. Time and time again, I can go down the list, those that understand, those that see, those that do proper assessments recognize that what the United States military did was historic. And again, before I pass it to the chairman, because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard, it's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump, because you want him not to be successful so bad, You have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented them isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it. Spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful. How many stories have been written about how hard it is to, I don't know, fly a plane for 36 hours? Has MSNBC done that story? Has Fox? Have we done the story how hard that is? Have we done it 2 or 3 times so that American people understand? How about how difficult it is to shoot a drone from an F-15 or 16 or F-22 or F-35? Or what it's like to man a Patriot battery? Or how hard it is to refuel midair? Giving the American people an understanding of how complex and sophisticated this mission really was. There are so many aspects of what our brave men and women did that because of the hatred of this press corps are undermined because your people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible. And folks in this room are privy to that information because of the proximity here in the Pentagon. It's an important responsibility. And time again, classified information is leaked or peddled for political purposes to try to make the president look bad. And what's really happening is you're undermining the success of incredible B-2 pilots and incredible F-35 pilots and incredible refuelers and incredible air defenders who accomplished their mission, set back a nuclear program in ways that other presidents would have dreamed. How about we celebrate that? How about we talk about how special America is, that only we have these capabilities? I think it's too much to ask, unfortunately, for the fake news. So we're used to that. But we also have an opportunity to stand at the podium and read the truth of what's really happening. And the reality is you want to call it destroyed, you want to call it defeated, you want to call it obliterated, choose your word. This was an historically successful attack, and we should celebrate it as Americans. And it gives us a chance to have peace, chance to have a deal, and an opportunity to prevent a nuclear Iran, which is something President Trump talked about for 20 years, and no other presidents had the courage to actually do. So with that, I want to hand it over to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. They've done technical analysis on this, not just on the strike, but also on our Patriot defenders, on al-Udeid. And Mr. Chairman, I'll hand it over to you.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, and all of you. Thank you for being here. As a follow-up to my comments on Sunday's press conference, I wanted to give you a few updates this morning on something I'm honored to do as a chairman, and that's a chance to get to talk about some of our service members and the incredible things that they do on behalf of our nation. And I apologize ahead of time for the length and the detail. Today, I'm going to brief you on a couple things. First, I'm going to talk about our air defenders at al-Udeid in Qatar and their actions on Monday. Then I'm going to walk you through a little bit about the academics that went into the attack against Fordo, the massive ordnance penetrator weapon, and we're going to show a video that highlights the effects that weapon has. Of course, nobody was down inside the target, so we don't have video from the target. First, on Monday, as the President has stated, on Monday morning we began to receive indications and warnings that Iran intended to attack U.S. bases in the region. That morning, building on the work that CENTCOM Commander Eric Kurilla had done, and on the orders of the President, at al-Udeid Air Base in Qatar and around the region, we assumed a minimum force posture. Most folks had moved off the base to extend the security perimeter out away from what we assessed might be a target zone, except for a very few Army soldiers at al-Udeid. At that point, only 2 Patriot batteries remained on base, roughly 44 American soldiers responsible for defending the entire base, to include CENTCOM's forward headquarters in the Middle East, an entire air base, and all the U.S. forces there. The oldest soldier was a 28-year-old captain. The youngest was a 21-year-old private who'd been in the military for less than 2 years. So let's put ourselves out there for a second. Imagine you're that young first lieutenant, you're 25 or 26 years old, and you've been assigned as the tactical director inside the command and control element. You, at that age, are the sole person responsible to defend this base. Listening next to you is your early warning operator whose job is to notify you of imminent attack. There's 5 people inside a vehicle and 5 people outside of a vehicle around these, a total of, as I said, 44. By the way, you've sat in the Middle East for years, deployed over and over again, extended multiple times, always being prepared, but unsure of when that particular day will come that you must execute your mission and not fail at doing it. In this case, these Patriot crews were deployed from Korea and Japan as part of our U.S. forces there to ensure that we had the most capable missiles in the CENTCOM area of responsibility. As the day continues, you start to hear more and more chatter in the information space about a pending attack. And as the sun starts to set in the west, you get orders from your higher headquarters to make sure that your missile batteries are pointed to the north. There are just a few other teammates. It's hot, you're getting nervous, and you expect an attack. Outside of those Patriot vehicles, your hot crew, which is 1 NCO and 4 additional soldiers, turns a key and relinquishes control of those missiles to that young lieutenant inside the vehicle, and you wait. You know that you're going to have approximately 2 minutes, 120 seconds to either succeed or fail. And then at approximately 12:30 p.m. on Monday, that's 7:30 p.m. in Qatar, as the sun sets in the west, Iran attacks. As the targets were detected, round after round of Patriot missiles are ejected from their canisters by an initial launch charge. Then the main solid rocket motor ignites. You can feel this in your body if you've ever been around a Patriot taking a shot. And round after round goes out and guides against those missiles coming inbound. We believe that this is the largest single Patriot engagement in U.S. military history. And we were joined in this engagement by the Qatari Patriot crews. I'm not going to tell you how many rounds were shot, but it was a bunch because of classified purposes. And we're aware that there's reports of something getting through. What we do know is there was a lot of metal flying around. Between attacking missiles being hit by Patriots, boosters from attacking missiles being hit by Patriots, the Patriots themselves flying around, and the debris from those Patriots hitting the ground, there was a lot of metal flying around. And yet our U.S. air defenders had only seconds to make complex decisions with strategic impact. These awesome humans, along with their Qatari brothers and sisters in arms, stood between a salvo of Iranian missiles and the safety of Al Udeid. They are the unsung heroes of the 21st century United States Army. And I know a lot of you have seen the videos online and the excitement as those Patriots departed their launchers and went up and guided. This really demonstrates the combat capability and capacity of our Army air defenders. Simply stated, they absolutely crushed it. If you'd flip this over, thanks. Let me next move to a walkthrough of the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator weapon and share a little bit about the planners who did this and their work on the weapon. First, let me set the stage for you. There's an organization in the U.S. called the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, DTRA. DTRA does a lot of things for our nation, but DTRA is the world's leading expert on deeply buried underground targets. In 2009, a Defense Threat Reduction Agency officer was brought into a vault at an undisclosed location and briefed on something going on in Iran. For security purposes, I'm not going to share his name. He was shown some photos and some highly classified intelligence of what looked like a major construction project in the mountains of Iran. He was tasked to study this facility, work with the intelligence community to understand it, and he was soon joined by an additional teammate. For more than 15 years, this officer and his teammate lived and breathed this single target, Fordo, a critical element of Iran's covert nuclear weapons program. He studied the geology. He watched the Iranians dig it out. He watched the construction, the weather, the discard material, the geology, the construction materials, where the materials came from. He looked at the vent shaft, the exhaust shaft, the electrical systems, the environmental control systems, every nook, every crater, every piece of equipment going in and every piece of equipment going out. They literally dreamed about this target at night. And they knew from the very first days what this was for. You do not build a multi-layered underground bunker complex with centrifuges and other equipment in a mountain for any peaceful purpose. They weren't able to discuss this with their family, their wives, their kids, their friends, but they just kept grinding it out. And along the way, they realized we did not have a weapon that could adequately strike and kill this target. So they began a journey to work with industry and other tacticians to develop the GBU-57. They tested it over and over again, tried different options, tried more after that. They accomplished hundreds of test shots and dropped many full-scale weapons against extremely realistic targets for a single purpose: kill this target at the time and place of our nation's choosing. And then, on a day in June of 2025, more than 15 years after they started their life's work, the phone rang and the President of the United States ordered the B-2 force that you've supported to go strike and kill this target. Yesterday, I had the incredible honor and privilege of spending time with these two Defense Threat Reduction Agency officers who've given so much. One of them said, quote, "I can't even get my head around this. My heart is so filled with the pride of being a part of this team. I am so honored to be a part of this." To you both, thank you, and thank you to your families. Operation Midnight Hammer was the culmination of those 15 years of incredible work. The air crews, the tanker crews, the weapons crews that built the weapons, the load crews that loaded it. Before I run through this video today, I want to talk a little bit about weaponeering and what goes into an attack. Weaponeering is the science of evaluating a target. I mentioned all of those factors before that these two DTRA officers had thought about. Ultimately, weaponeering is determining the right weapon and fuse combination to achieve the desired effects and maximum destruction against a target. In the case of Fordo, the DTRA team understood with a high degree of confidence the elements of the target required to kill its functions, and the weapons were designed, planned, and delivered to ensure that they achieve the effects in the mission space. By the way, in the beginning of its development, we had so many PhDs working on the MOP program, doing modeling and simulation, that we were quietly and in a secret way the biggest users of supercomputer hours within the United States of America. So let me talk about the graphic a little bit. And the GBU-57, which all of you I know is a 30,000 pound weapon dropped only by the B-2. It's comprised of steel, explosive, and a fuse, programmed bespokely each weapon to achieve a particular effect inside the target. Each weapon had a unique desired impact angle, arrival, final heading, and a fuse setting. The fuse is effectively what tells the bomb when to function. A longer delay in a fuse, the deeper the weapon will penetrate and drive into the target. So on Fordo, in June of 2008, you can see these three holes. Depicted here is the main exhaust shaft with two additional ventilation shafts on either side. The United States decided to strike these two ventilation shafts, as seen here on the main graphic, as the primary point of entry into the mission space. In the days preceding the attack against Fordo, the Iranians attempted to cover the shafts with concrete to try to prevent an attack. I won't share the specific dimensions of the concrete cap, but you should know that we know what the dimensions of those concrete caps were. The planners had to account for this. They accounted for everything. The cap was forcibly removed by the first weapon, and the main shaft was uncovered. Weapons 2, 3, 4, 5 were tasked to enter the main shaft, move down into the complex at greater than 1,000 feet per second, and explode in the mission space. Weapon number 6 was designed on each side, so there were 6 on each side. Weapons number 6 was designed as a flex